Welcome back to the channel, guys, and today's video is going to be on how to win more games in Football Manager, and I'm going to show you how. Let's do it. So the first way we can win more games is by improving morale. We all know how important morale is on Football Manager, and in this year's game it is no different. So if we go into the training section and we go into individual, we can see each individual player's training rating. Now we can upgrade morale from this point. A good rule of thumb that I use is 6.5 rating and below you can criticise, and then 90% of the time they accept it unless they've got a really bad personality, and 7.5 plus and you can praise them and their morale usually goes up. There is a midpoint to that. If they've got a good personality, don't praise them if it's like 7.1 because they'll expect more from themselves, so they'll expect you to want more from them. And also if they have like a 6.7 or 6.8, you can criticise players with good personalities like Spirited, Resolute, Model Citizen and Professional, things like that. They will accept criticism way more readily. So all you have to do is you just have to go onto one of the players. So let's go to, we'll see here, we'll go to Marcel Ratnik. He's training really well, 8.5. We're going to praise him and we're going to say, well done, mate. Now, as you can see, it says he's displayed positive body language. His morale was already perfect because we're doing really well on this save. But you will see on some of the players that the morale will change with a little arrow next to it. So at one point it'll be there and then it'll be there. If you're on a bad run of form, it'll be there and then it'll turn to here. So just little bits of criticising or praising before a game, if you're in a tough run of fixtures or you're in a tough run of form, cannot be all the difference you need to turn it from a slightly poor to an okay, and then that guy might score next game. So it's just these little tweaks that we can do to maybe win more games in FM. The next way to win more games is on the tactics screen, and something I would not recommend, especially if you're playing against a big team away from home or even a relegation 6-pointer or you're just chasing Europe. Do not, before game, drastically change your instructions and your formation because you will lose tactical familiarity. And tactical familiarity is one of the most important things that I always bang on about inside Football Manager. If your players know your tactics, there is a much higher chance of them performing well and performing exactly how you want inside the match. I see a lot of people go into their tactics screen and they'll go down to low press, they'll put their line on much lower, they'll want to press less often, and they'll go into here and they'll set direct passing, they'll go to slower tempo, and then they'll go to time wasting. And then what will happen is they'll go in, if you look into here, tactical familiarity, and my players have lost half of their passing style, so now they don't know what to do with the passing. The trigger press is absolutely dead, so you'll just be pressing all over the place, right? And teams will just play through you and you'll concede. Don't do that. So what you could do, I've said this before, but what you could do is instead of doing all those things, we could just change a few roles here and there like that, full back support, and click hold position. And then when you do that, it doesn't lose tactical familiarity. The player loses it a little bit, if you click this screen here. He loses it a little bit with his formation and his role, but he doesn't lose the team instructions. So it's definitely better to just do little tweaks to your team, or even just things that don't affect tactical familiarity, like time wasting doesn't, to be honest. It doesn't. The tempo does, the passing directness does, but the things that don't are things like get stuck in. You could maybe stay on feet. Just to keep you guys in a bit more shape. That doesn't change your tactical familiarity. If you want to trap them inside or outside, that doesn't change it either. But basically the point is don't just go put him 5 at the back if you've never trained a 5 at the back formation. Don't be putting players on defensive duties everywhere because you'll not have any out balls or anything to actually attack. It'll just be attack after attack coming at you, and you'll more likely just concede. So just don't do it. Another way to win more games in FM is going to the schedule page, and we can find a little bit of information on this page. So I'm about to play Celta Vigo. Now what I have to consider is that they are 16th and they've lost a lot of their games, right? Now this is better if you guys are about to play a team maybe similar to you, or again, like I mentioned, a team that's maybe a bit bigger than you and you're away from home, and you guys can find a little bit more information. So for example, if we go to Celta Vigo's, this example we might not find much about them, but we also might do. So if we go in here, and we go into insert column and we go to formation. And then we also go in there, insert column, opposition formation. And then what we do is we auto size all columns and just move this around a little bit because it's going to be a bit skew width. If we come down here, we can see which games Celta Vigo have played, which formations they've used, and which formations they've played against. So if we switch that to this side and we put formation here, which you guys should be able to easily do, we can see that Celta Vigo play almost all their games in a 4-3-3 DM wide, right? It looks like they've sacked their manager, and the manager before used to play 4-2-3-1 DM wide. That's why you can't see these ones. But they looks like now play 4-3-3 DM wide. Now, they've picked up a few more wins than before, so it was a good appointment. There was rock bottom before this. But we can see that they've lost 2 games there against Almeria and Real Sociedad against a 4-2-3-1 DM wide. Now, Almeria and Real Sociedad are doing quite well. So if you're a bigger team than them, it looks like they struggle against 4-2-3-1 DM wide. But they have actually played well against a few teams that do play that formation, teams around them. Now, I'm top of the league, so I'm looking at Almeria and Real Sociedad because they're they're 2 top 8 teams in my save. So I'm thinking I should play 4-2-3-1 DM wide. Now, I do play that anyway, as you can see from the tactics screen, but I wouldn't have changed for them because I'm the better team. This is a tip for teams that aren't as good, or that just maybe you've just got promoted. So you can get a lot of information here. You can see which formations teams struggle against, see if you can pick out a pattern, and you can maybe exploit that with a slight change of formation next game, and it could work wonders. It's happened, it's worked for me plenty of times. It can also work for you. Another way you can win more games in Football Manager is if you have 3 tactics set up. Now, the reason for that is flexibility inside games. If one thing's not working, we've got another plan, 2 plans, one plan B and another plan C, in effect, and the players are learning it inside training, and they will lose little to no tactical familiarity than if you just change one tactic and you only have one tactic set up and you just change everything and you lose tactical familiarity. If I want to go more attacking from this 4-2-3-1 DM wide, I have got a formation called attack, as you can see there. I click that. I lose a little bit of tactical familiarity because creative freedom, they don't know as much about it on this tactic because it's quite new, and I've all just put it in. But it's a lot more attacking. It's got much more often press, get stuck in, high press, counter press, higher tempo. It's got all these things, whereas my first tactic has slightly lower tempo, shorter passing, etc. So I like to use the 3 ones because I have the one that I start the game where I try to control games a little bit with a short passing and lower tempo. I have my attack version, which if I'm struggling and I'm 2-0 down or something, and I need a goal, I've got a 4-2-3-1 with really attacking intent. And then I have my third one, which is more of like a counter-attacking system. So it's the same as the first, slightly. I just pull the wingers back, a few different roles, and we have a mid-block rather than a high press. So it's like I've got 3 ways to try and win this next match if it doesn't go my way. If you only have one tactic set up in your slot, then you're going to be struggling, you're going to be moving things round, and you're going to be losing your tactical familiarity rather than just having one ready to go, bang, straight in. So it's definitely something to consider, and it's won me hundreds of games being able to switch to different tactics, because if, like I said, if I'm losing, this one does generate a lot of chances, and if it doesn't, we might get hit on the break. It happens sometimes, but I am forcing the issue inside the match engine rather than sat in this formation watching the game go by, nothing happening, and we lose again, or we draw again, or we drop more points. At least we can do something about it with another tactic. So definitely do that. I would massively recommend it. When you're in a match, you guys have the ability to affect the games by looking at players' body language. So we can see here I've started with my rotated team here against Celta Vigo because I have a Champions League second leg in a couple of days. And we can see that Gullikson, for example, is nervous on the left wing. And also my goalkeeper, which is quite rare for him, he's also nervous. What we can do there is we can obviously sub them off if we want. That's totally up to you guys. But we can also give them their own personal shout. So if we click on them from the bottom, and we click on touchline shouts, and if he's nervous, we might just want to make him calm down or encourage him. Right, we're going to encourage him. Gullikson, if he's nervous, we're also going to encourage him. And then what you might see is if we start in a minute, there. Mamardashvili has been motivated by the feedback, and also Gullikson is fired up by the feedback. You guys can't see that, but he's fired up by the feedback. He's got a big smiley green face there, as you can see, just underneath my camera. So those 2 things have worked really well. Now, what you're going to have to keep an eye on is in 10-15 in-game minutes, that team talk will sort of wear off, and you guys might have to do that again. So just keep an eye on things like that, because if they're nervous, complacent, or apprehensive, they might make a mistake. They might be taking too long on the ball. They might, if it's a striker, he might not finish his chances. All them things, and you can affect that by either subbing them off, giving them a shout, or if your team doesn't have good personalities in there, sign some good personalities, because good personalities don't often have to be talked through a match. I don't think Gullikson has a bad personality. He might have. It might be balanced. We'll have a quick check. He's resolute, so that's a surprising one. Maybe it's because he's actually been struggling for game time and he's been asking me for game time, so I give him a game today. So that's another thing. If it's a player that he's a bit complaining, and you're not giving him enough game time, like I said, then that could happen. They might appear nervous on the pitch because they sort of want to impress, or they're not used to it, or they're lacking in match practice, all those things. There's a lot of things that come into it. It's not an exact science, but basically, if you guys see that some of your players are struggling in your body language, you can either sub them off, or I would suggest, first of all, especially if it's in the first half, don't waste any subs. Just give them a slight team talk. If it doesn't work and they react badly, maybe you can just take them off. It's totally up to you, but that will win you more games if you've got better body language on the pitch. And that's going to be it for that video, guys. 5 more ways to win inside Football Manager. If you like the video, hit the like button. If you would like to subscribe, that would be amazing. And until next time, guys, I'll catch you then. Goodbye.